I call Sir William CO.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was expecting to debate some of the real, some of the crises that have been raised that we've had, and I was expecting a substantial submission from that particular delegate, that particular member, and so I was surprised when there wasn't anything about that, and she sat down. But, sir, we were expecting on this side of the House that this government, that we would spend tonight and tomorrow debating urgency legislation that was going to fix the housing crisis, that was going to ensure that everyone who needed an operation in our hospitals would get one, and that people who were in garages or living in cars would at least have some hope that they would be moved into a decent house. Instead, what we're hearing is they're going to move out of Auckland, and instead of being homeless in Auckland, they'll be homeless somewhere else. I come to this bill, sir, and, you know, my colleague, Dr. Megan Wood says, we're supporting it. We're supporting it on the basis that they've finally recognised the error of their ways, because let's be straight up. This government introduced this scheme of 1 for 2 subsidy in 2009. What does that mean? It means that a business can pollute all they want, and instead of paying the full cost, that they will pay half of the cost. That's what the scheme means. They can pollute, and instead of paying the full cost, they pay half of the cost. Now, that doesn't show that this government is serious about climate change. It certainly doesn't, Mr. Speaker. Now, if it was, instead of phasing out like they're doing, they would take it seriously and address it right now. Instead, they don't do anything about it today. They don't do anything about it this year. They do something about it next year. And so it doesn't phase out completely until 2019. So, sir, it's a signal again, in the same way that they've treated the housing crisis as if it was made up. Again, sir, they don't recognise how serious the error of their ways is and how serious climate change it means. So I do want to say, I want to acknowledge the fact that the minister has at least taken this baby step. But if the minister were to take it seriously, then she needs to consider the fact that a whole suite of other activities need to take place. We have got to take seriously the fact of reducing our own emissions, of transitioning this workforce into a workforce of green, clean, climate change jobs. That's what this government has got to do, sir. And I don't think, and it's also, in recognise that she's taken this baby step, I would ask the minister to go further and work on the fact that we've also got to repair our reputation. Once upon a time, we could be proud overseas of talking about a green New Zealand. We can't do that anymore. So in the Paris meeting of last year, the delegates from the Pacific said that they were disappointed that when New Zealand government officials turned up, they weren't supportive of what the Pacific were advocating for. In fact, it was only because Obama and some of the other countries dragged their feet in that the New Zealand delegation then agreed to the 1.5 goal. I'd say to the minister, take this seriously. If she had heard the reports from the Parliamentary Commissioner on the Environment, she would have seen, sir, that the Commissioner for the Environment has recognised and has put up evidence to show that already New Zealand, our coastal regions, is under erosion because of climate change. We cannot ignore that. That is serious stuff. 2 months ago, I had the opportunity of visiting Kiribati and Tuvalu. So those islands are under serious threats. If in the international arena, they have spoken passionately that they are the canary in the tunnel as a warning to every other country in the world that what is happening to them is going to happen to us. In the UNDP report of 2010, sir, it identifies that the most low-lying atolls of the Pacific, which includes Tokelau, which includes Tuvalu, which includes Kiribati, which includes the Marshall Islands. Many of those countries, sir, will be underwater by 2050.
Come back to the bill.
I'm making the point, sir,
Coming back to
that
the
if this government were to take seriously the issue of climate change, then this step is not enough. They must go further. And, sir, I don't even mind, sir, this issue is so seriously, I don't even mind if they stole Labour Party policy. I wouldn't mind if they would establish an independent climate commission which would establish a carbon budgeting process. I wouldn't mind if they stole those policies, sir, because those policies are sensible and they take seriously the issue of climate change. I heard the member before talk about business and the value of business. We certainly do value business. And I tell you, sir, if business themselves don't start planning and taking in consideration the effects of climate change on this country, they are going to have issues with where they grow their crops. They are going to have issues about transitioning the types of energy facilities that they have now into more renewable and cleaner energy sources. They need to plan, sir, but this government doesn't seem to take seriously. It's more than just giving them the legal right to pollute. It has to be much more serious and a whole suite of other issues. I go back to the issue I try to raise, sir, that I think is the key to this. The Pacific are facing this on a day-to-day basis. And here's the thing why it's important for us. I was asked this question by a young person in Kiribati. What would New Zealand do if Tuvalu or Kiribati were hit by Cyclone Winston that hit Fiji? What would we do with those islands? Remembering, of course, sir, a report was released last month showing that 5 islands out of the Solomon Islands are now underwater. What will we do with those? But this is the point, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, Grant.